The Dallas Cowboys may be one move away from completely changing this defense, and the name being connected again is going to fire this fan base up instantly. A former impact pass rusher could be heading back to Dallas. Joey Bosa rumors are heating up, and now there's a controversial quarterback prospect tied to the Cowboys that has the entire NFL debating. And honestly, one of these moves could either save the Cowboys season before it even starts, or become a disaster everyone saw coming. Before we jump into all of it, if you love Cowboys coverage year-round and want non-stop news, rumors, breakdowns, and passionate football talk, hit subscribe right now because this off-season is getting crazier by the day. Let's start with the reunion possibility that suddenly refuses to die. Jadeveon Clowney being linked back to Dallas is something a lot of Cowboys fans probably thought was over with weeks ago. It felt like one of those off-season stories that quietly disappears once teams move toward training camp. But now, that door just got pushed open again, and there are legitimate reasons to believe this conversation is not finished. The Cowboys know exactly what Clowney brings to the table because they already saw it firsthand. This is not some mystery free agent where you're guessing about fit, personality, or production. Dallas already watched him become one of the more disruptive defenders on the roster last season. 8.5 sacks in only 13 games. 12 tackles for loss. Constant pressure off the edge. Veteran leadership. Physicality. Experience. The production was real. And here's the scary part for opposing offenses. If Clowney had played a full season, we might be talking about a double-digit sack campaign right now. That's why this situation is fascinating. Earlier in the off-season, the Cowboys sounded interested in bringing him back. The messaging was positive. It felt like both sides respected each other. But then suddenly the tone changed. Dallas started talking about evaluating the defense and seeing what the young players can do. And every Cowboys fan knows what that usually means. Translation: the team wants to get younger and cheaper before committing more money to a veteran. But now the rumors are back because there's a growing belief that Clowney himself may not even want a full off-season program or training camp. He's a veteran. He's been in this league for over a decade. At this stage of his career, he probably wants to wait until late summer, see where teams stand, see who gets hurt, and then pick the best opportunity. And honestly, from his perspective, that makes perfect sense. Why go grind through training camp in May and June when teams become desperate in August? That's the reality of the NFL. Every single year, contenders lose pass rushers during camp. Every single year, defensive coordinators panic when depth disappears. And every single year, veteran edge rushers suddenly become valuable again overnight. So if Dallas suffers even one injury at defensive end during camp, do not be shocked if the Clowney reunion rumors explode again. Now here's the bigger question Cowboys fans need to ask themselves. Would you actually want him back? Because this is where things get complicated. The Cowboys already have bodies at edge rusher. They invested in younger players. They're clearly hoping internal development solves some problems. They want to see what this current rotation can become before spending more money. And to be fair, that approach is understandable. It's only May. Teams do not win championships in May. Smart organizations stay patient. The Cowboys probably want to evaluate the roster before reacting emotionally to veteran names floating around free agency. But at the same time, are we really going to pretend Clowney would not help this football team? That's the difficult part. You can talk about youth all day long, but proven production matters. Especially for a team trying to contend right now with Dak Prescott still in his prime years. And that leads directly into the next name being discussed around Dallas. Joey Bosa. This one is even more polarizing. Because unlike Clowney, Joey Bosa still carries that superstar reputation around the league. The name alone immediately gets attention. Fans hear Joey Bosa and instantly picture dominant pass rushing, violent hands, elite technique, and game-changing pressure. But here's the problem. That version of Joey Bosa may not fully exist anymore. That's the uncomfortable conversation nobody wants to have. A few years ago, Joey Bosa was absolutely one of the most feared edge defenders in football. Offensive coordinators had to completely game plan around him. He could wreck drives by himself. He was explosive, powerful, technically brilliant, and relentless. But injuries have piled up. And once injuries start stacking for pass rushers approaching 30 years old, things can change fast in the NFL. Now, to be clear, Joey Bosa is still a productive player. This is not some washed-up player who cannot contribute anymore. The pressure numbers still show flashes. He can still affect quarterbacks. He can still create chaos when healthy. The problem is the phrase "when healthy." That's the concern. Can Dallas trust him to stay available? Can they trust his body? Can they trust that the elite version is still there consistently? Because if the answer is yes, then this becomes a completely different conversation. If Dallas believes Joey Bosa still has elite football left in him, then signing him becomes incredibly tempting. Elite pass rushers do not grow on trees. You do not casually pass on them if you think they can still dominate. But if you think the injuries permanently changed him, suddenly the risk becomes massive. And Cowboys fans know this franchise already carries enough pressure entering the season. That's why this debate is going to split the fan base. Some fans will say, take the chance. Swing big. Go all in. Others will say, stop chasing aging veterans and trust the young core. And honestly, both sides have valid arguments. Question for the fans right now. If you could only choose one veteran edge rusher for Dallas, who are you taking? Joey Bosa or Jadeveon Clowney? And be honest, because this fan base is completely divided on it. Now, while the pass rusher rumors are interesting, the most shocking storyline might actually involve quarterback Brendan Sorsby. This situation is wild. Because if you have not been following this story closely, Brendan Sorsby is suddenly becoming one of the most controversial quarterback prospects in football. Not because of talent, because of gambling. And this entire situation could lead to something the NFL almost never sees anymore: a supplemental draft. That alone makes this story fascinating. For those unfamiliar, supplemental drafts are rare. Extremely rare. Most NFL fans barely remember the last meaningful one. But now there's growing momentum that Sorsby could actually force the league into holding one this summer. And the Cowboys are already being linked to him. Now, talent-wise, Brendan Sorsby absolutely has NFL traits. That's why this situation is getting so much attention. Before all the gambling controversy exploded, there were legitimate evaluators who believed he had first-round potential down the road. Not hype. Real NFL-level traits. Big frame. Strong arm. Mobility. Playmaking ability. Natural tools that coaches dream about developing. He is not some gimmick quarterback. The arm talent is real. The athleticism is real. The upside is real. And in modern football, quarterbacks who can move, extend plays, and create outside structure are incredibly valuable. You do not need to be Lamar Jackson to succeed athletically anymore. But you absolutely need enough mobility to survive pressure and buy time. Sorsby has that. When plays break down, he can still create. When protection collapses, he can still escape. And those traits matter more than ever in today's NFL. But now we get to the giant elephant in the room. The gambling issue. And there is no soft way to say this. Betting on your own team creates a terrible look. Even the appearance of impropriety is dangerous for professional football. The NFL and NCAA take gambling extremely seriously because the integrity of the sport is everything. That's why this situation became such a massive deal. Sorsby is now fighting potential punishment, trying to challenge the process legally, and hoping to keep his football future alive. But many people around football believe this is going to be very difficult for him to win. And if he loses, that's where the supplemental draft enters the picture. Now here's why Cowboys fans should pay close attention. Dallas does not exactly have unlimited quarterback depth security behind Dak Prescott. And even though the organization still talks confidently about their current room, there are people around the league wondering whether the Cowboys could take a swing on a developmental quarterback with major upside, especially one they might view as undervalued because of off-field controversy. That's why this story matters. But let's talk football honestly for a second, because there are flaws in Sorsby's game too. The consistency is not there yet. The accuracy comes and goes. And when he struggles, the struggles get ugly fast. That's something evaluators noticed repeatedly. Against better competition, the inconsistency became a major problem. Some games looked impressive. Other games looked completely out of control. And for quarterbacks, inconsistency is terrifying. Because NFL defenses punish inconsistency brutally. One week you look like a future franchise quarterback. The next week you look completely overwhelmed. That rollercoaster evaluation is exactly why some scouts remain cautious despite the physical talent. Now here comes the biggest issue specifically for Dallas. Draft capital. The Cowboys are not loaded with extra picks. That matters a lot here because supplemental draft selections cost future draft picks. If you bid a third-round pick on Brendan Sorsby, you lose that pick next year. And that is a massive gamble, especially for a roster already trying to balance immediate contention with long-term roster building. Think about what Dallas would be sacrificing: future flexibility, future depth, potential starters, and all of that for a quarterback prospect carrying both developmental concerns and off-field controversy. That is not a small decision. In fact, some people around football believe Sorsby could actually command second-round interest if multiple teams become intrigued by the upside. Now imagine Dallas sacrificing a second-round pick for this situation. Would Cowboys fans really support that? Because this is where the debate gets intense. The upside is obvious. Quarterbacks with physical tools always attract attention. But the timing feels strange for Dallas. Dak Prescott is still the starter. The roster has other needs. And using premium future draft capital on a developmental quarterback with controversy attached could backfire badly if the player does not hit. Question of the day: should the Cowboys take a gamble on Brendan Sorsby if he enters the supplemental draft, or should Dallas stay far away from this entire situation? Comment below because this might become one of the biggest off-season debates for Cowboys Nation. And honestly, there's another layer to all of this that makes the fit questionable: contract timing. If Dallas acquires Sorsby now, the rookie contract clock immediately starts running. That means you're already burning years of affordable control while Dak Prescott remains firmly entrenched as the starter. So unless the Cowboys truly believe Sorsby has future franchise quarterback upside, does the timeline even make sense? That's the part a lot of fans are overlooking. This is not just about talent. This is about roster construction, resource allocation, future planning, and whether Dallas believes they are close enough to contention that every premium draft pick matters desperately. Because right now, the Cowboys are trying to walk a very dangerous line. They want to compete immediately, but they also need long-term flexibility. And sometimes those goals collide. That's why all three of these storylines are so fascinating together. Jadeveon Clowney represents proven veteran production. Joey Bosa represents high risk, high reward superstar upside. Brendan Sorsby represents long-term potential mixed with major uncertainty. Three completely different types of gambles. Three completely different decisions. And every single one of them could dramatically impact the future direction of this football team. That's what makes this offseason so important for Dallas. Because the Cowboys are no longer in the phase where good enough satisfies fans anymore. This fan base is tired of playoff disappointment. Tired of almost. Tired of hype ending in heartbreak. Fans want moves that actually push this team toward a championship. And every decision from this point forward is going to be analyzed through that lens. Can this move help Dallas finally break through? Or is it another gamble that ends in frustration? That pressure is real. And the front office feels it too. One thing is certain though, the Cowboys are absolutely not done making headlines this offseason. And if injuries hit during training camp or another major quarterback domino falls around the league, these rumors could escalate very quickly. So buckle up, Cowboys fans. Because the drama is only getting started.